Week 3. Okay, here. We're here. We're here. Week 3. Um, and week 3 is titled Recovering a Sense of Power. And I have to be honest, this was my home week. This is the week that I felt very at home in. I think that very intuitively and early on, I was very connected to my power and what made me powerful. So I'm really excited to share with you all my journey and what's good. Okay, so I want to read. I should have had this open. Okay, I'm going to read the little synopsis in the front of the week 3. This week may find you dealing with unaccustomed bursts of energy and sharp peaks of anger, joy, and grief. You are coming into your power as the illusionary hold of your previously accepted limits is shaking. You will be asked to consciously experiment with spiritual open mindedness, which I personally feel I'm not a stranger to really opening my mind spiritually. I feel like that's such a, I don't know. I feel like sometimes that's a sad thing, but I don't know. So the themes that she discusses in this week are anger, synchronicity, shame, and growth. And I feel like I'm not a stranger to my own power. However, I've been feeling like I have been a stranger to my own power recently. And these themes are interesting because when I was a stranger to my own power, I lacked feeling that synchronicity with the universe. Like creatively, I used to really get a lot of downloads, and suddenly those downloads had stopped. My anger was certainly not something that I wanted to address or face. I tried to be someone that wasn't angry, even though that, is not true. Like I'm Aggie, okay? And shame was something I didn't want to deal with, and growth, I felt stagnant. So after going through this week, it made sense why these themes are connected to recovering your sense of power. In the first page of this chapter, I underlined anger is fuel. Anger is meant to be listened to and respected. And honestly, that's really all I needed to be like, oh wow, like, I need to respect my anger. I need to give a place for my anger. Why? Because in the chapter, she says anger is a map. Anger is something that you can use to redirect yourself, give yourself direction. There's an example here when it's so accurate to me. In the book, she's like, okay, like say you see someone post a film and you're like, blast him, I can make a better film than that. And like, you're jealous that this artist is so audacious to put their art out and you haven't. And then I see it and then I'm like, oh, I could do better than that, or I could do that, or that could have been me. And I feel like I've definitely felt that. And now I understand when I feel that, that is just my anger telling me what I really want to do, where I really want to go. And I think that I'm starting to look at my anger in all places of my life like that. Even like, when I notice I'm in a place and that place is bringing me annoyance, I tie anger and annoyance together. It's tied for me. I use that as like, oh, maybe I want to leave this place. I'm here, I'm annoyed, I'm angry. Maybe I don't want to be here. Maybe I want to be somewhere else. I'm seeing somewhere where I want to be and it makes me angry. Oh, actually, I want to be over there. I want to be a part of that. So, yeah, that's what I got. Next theme, synchronicity. Synchronicity was a huge thing for me this week. And I was just so excited that this chapter connected me back to it. One fun synchronicity thing that happened was I was thinking to myself, like, okay, I really would love to direct a play. And then I remember finding two plays at the Free Black Women's Library. Me and my little sister went, and there were literally only two plays. And both of those plays were really simple two-person plays, but one play was literally like two people, no setting, very simple, straightforward. And I was like, okay, this is extremely doable, and it's also written by a Black woman. Yes, 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 yes. And then when I went to the park with a friend, a lady came up to us and was like, hey, did y'all know that this park has a free theater that you can use anytime you want? And it's not like I haven't been living in Brooklyn for years at this point and possibly didn't know this, but it was the fact that it was just lining up straight in my face. Here's a play, here's a theater. You want to direct something? Here you go. And I've experienced that with the universe where it's just like you ask for something and then it's like, oh, you wanted it here. And then you're like, oh, now I have the responsibility to actually like do it and carry through what I said I wanted to do. Yikes. And that, you know, is a thing. Also, she says, answered prayers are scary. What I was just talking about. Prayers get answered, you get it, it's in your hand, and now you're like, they imply responsibility. I underlined that too in this book. You know what I mean? Keeping your blessings, it's work, it's hard work. And acknowledging that for myself was very important because I would like, try to shy away. And the next theme, a lot of gems in this. Shame. I think I was dealing with shame this week as well. I started editing some old footage that I have been meaning to work on for years. And I felt a lot of shame come up for me while I was editing. And I really had to be like, this isn't mine to hold, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like the shame was coming up because I was worried about what other people may be thinking. She says that shame, especially when you're making like honest art, the act of making art exposes a society to itself. It's like you're telling, a secret, and it does feel like that, especially like as a Black queer maker. Like, we hold all the secrets, we be telling all the secrets of society, and that shame is definitely taught and embedded in us. And it makes sense that when I approach this work, when I get to a point where it's just like me and this work, I start to feel small. And yeah, like I was just reminding myself to release this shame because there is an audience out there that supports and would love to see what I have to make. So I love that. And like, she also emphasizes that we have to be very like protective of ourselves, protective of our artists. She gives a lot of good gems about how to handle critique, and when critique is okay and not okay, but the types of critique you should take in and the types of critique you should let loose. You know what I mean? And the antidote to shame is self-love and self-praise. When I started to feel that shame, I was just like, look, you're allowed to be bad at things when you first start. You are gonna make a lot more work in your life this is just the beginning, and it's God's will for you to be creative. So, just keep going. And growth, I feel like I was connecting growth with faith, and like just stepping out on faith when it came to, doing your own art projects. This week felt very at home for me. Like, I feel like these lessons are things that I just already knew and already felt. And I feel like I just want to share some things that I wrote down this week. This week I really started to investigate the boxes I was putting myself in, because when you're dealing with shame, when you're dealing with anger, a lack of synchronicity, a lack of growth, you have to realize that it's coming from, within. Yes, society does things for us, but then we also take it in and we internalize it, and then we do it to ourselves. And I really started to investigate all the ways that I was limiting my own power, giving myself conditions on how I was going to be successful, or if I was going to be successful, or how good my work will be, or any of those things. I was like, why am I limiting myself already before I even start? Or or why am I limiting myself in the middle of the process? I will never get through it. And then throughout this week, I did have bursts of energy. I would just wake up one day and be like, okay, I need to get this done. I need to release this. I'm ready for the world to see it. It needs to be out into the world. I woke up a lot of mornings like that, and it was funny because I would wake up like that, and then I would do the work, and then the shame would come in, and I'd be like, and it'd be just a whole thing. And throughout this week, I just had to remind myself that success is the only result as long as I share to my best capacity. And even if I don't, success is the only result. I choose to believe that. And I got that mindset from the book that I mentioned in the first video of this series, Happy Pocket Full of Money. It is a book that discusses synchronicity, manifestation, and the rules of the universe. And one of the rules is that success is all there is. Failure is an illusion. And that mindset really helps me stay grounded when shame really starts to work its way back into my creative practice. And also on my limiting my own power, I have I have a lot of different interests. I have a lot of different talents, multi-hyphenate, creative. I feel like I want to do everything. And I really felt like I needed to reframe my practice and be like, okay, yes, I have all these multitudes. I can't do everything, but I can, put everything that I am into my work. So I'm readjusting my goals for this year. Instead of I need this. I'm gonna consolidate my talents and make sure that the projects that I have, all of my talents are present in that. And yeah, and then also what came up for me, committing fully. I feel like I always kind of had maybe one foot in and one foot out, and I feel like to really address growth, to really see growth in its truest form, I need to commit fully. It's the only path. This is the only way. I won't really know what I'm capable of. I really won't understand the extent of my power until it's that real, right? Until I'm this is it. This is it. Oh my gosh, I need to eat something. And it's a real way to address my shame, because if this is it, this is it. what is there to be ashamed of? You know what I mean? And I wrote down self-protection is a must, okay? Because we're artists, we're sensitive about our shit, okay? And what else did I write? Right. Yeah, I just wrote down some notes, revelations for myself. We feel shame because people don't want the truth. Like I said earlier, um, shame is definitely connected to feeling like we're telling secrets of society and people don't want the truth. And I've always felt like that. I always felt like a little truth sayer, and I just felt like people never really wanted that, and I would just be like, why? And finding my power in making art that responds to the environment that we're in, and that's how art becomes life. I think there's been a lot of discourse around like art that's very like distracting and art that like talks about real life, and I feel like art does have to respond to the lives that we're living, and that is how art becomes life itself, because all life on the planet is responding to other life on the planet, and if your art isn't responding to any other life on this planet, then is it really living? And flow, don't force. I wrote that down for myself because in the section where she talks about growth, she basically says, look, you're not going to grow being mean to yourself or bullying yourself into making art. You're going to grow when you are gently coaxing yourself into making art. And I totally agree with that, because there was definitely a moment when I was like, make art, and that didn't work. I'm stubborn. I can't talk like that to myself. So, you know, be gentle. Be gentle with yourself. That's how you really get to step into your own power. And I didn't share any of the exercises this week, just because, yeah, I guess it wasn't the week for that. But next week, if I felt like I missed anything, I'll put it in that one. Thank you for watching.